Well,
Really? Why the hell we getting it like that? Getting all our little deck off and all stuff or whatever, so y'all pass it out to the board members. We're gonna let it, get this marshal and all of these ones right off. These are for the fair. They're for the fair. Gold gave them to Bobby. Bobby said give them to you. You're passing out to council.
Anybody wants to go?
Anybody who wants to go.
So is there a pass it out to council?
No, that's the,
You can do it whenever we get closer to fair time.
Okay.
Y'all
I don't
good?
want to be in charge.
You can do it.
I'm not in charge of nothing.
Y'all ready to do it?
Full of shit.
let's go.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Franklin City Council meeting to order for the July 8th, 2024 meeting. At this time, I will ask you to please silence your cell phones and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You get speaking.
We do not have anyone signed up for citizens' time. And I will ask, are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move right into the consent agenda. First item is the approval of the June 24th, 2024 work session minutes. Anybody have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll call for the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion needed? All right, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. We'll start with Councilman Kitchen.
Aye.
Abstain.
And so carried. Next item is the approval of the 2024 meeting minutes. So that would be the meeting itself. So the first was the work session. Okay. Are there any corrections or additions to the June 24th meeting minutes?
No, sir.
Okay. Hearing none. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion needed? All in favor, signify by the vote.
Aye.
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 And aye, so carried. And next will be the approval of the June 25th, 24 meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those meeting minutes?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion needed on that? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And so carried. Thank you. Next item of business is the ordinances and resolutions. Tonight we have proclamation number 2024-17. This proclamation honoring L. Terrell Majette Sr. And I will pass that to Councilman Kitchen and he will read that.
Whereas acts of bravery and selflessness serve as profound inspirations to our community and exemplify the highest values of humanity. Whereas L. Terrell Majette Sr. has demonstrated extraordinary courage and swift action in a moment of critical danger, directly saving the lives of 2 children. And whereas L. Terrell Majette Sr.'s heroic actions not only averted a potential tragedy, but also brought immense relief and gratitude to the families involved in the entire community. Whereas such acts of heroism embody the spirit of altruism and serve as a beacon of hope and resilience, reminding us all the profound impact one individual can have on the lives of many. Whereas the city of Franklin is immeasurably proud of L. Terrell Majette Sr. which is to formally acknowledge and celebrate his act of heroism. Now therefore, I, Robert Bobby Cutchins, Mayor, on behalf of this, and the City of Franklin, City Council, and citizens of the City of Franklin, do hereby proclaim July 8, 2024 as a day to honor and recognize El Terrell Majette for his extraordinary heroism and selfless dedication to the safety and well-being of our children. Therefore, we extend our deepest gratitude and commendation to El Terrell Majette Sr. for his bravery, quick thinking, and unwavering commitment to protecting the lives of others. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Franklin to be affixed to this 8th of July 2024. This proclamation serves as the permanent record of El Terrell Majette Sr.'s heroism, reminder of the powerful impact of his actions. Signed this 8th day of July 24, Robert Bobby Cutchins, Mayor.
Mr. Majette, if you could, come to the front, please. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So
of July
moved.
24? I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion needed? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 And aye. So carried. Right now, we'd like to present you with this little plaque here to commemorate your activities. Council would come down and join me in a picture.
Let me thank all of you who came to the recognition of Mr. Majette. We appreciate your being here. You can stay for the rest of the meeting, but it looks like you're going off to party someplace.
Y'all have a good evening. Next item is Resolution 2024-18. It's a resolution honoring Planning Commission members, and that would be presented by Councilman Smith.
Whereas the City Council of the City of Franklin wishes to acknowledge the important role that members of the Planning Commission play in determining the future development of the city, and whereas the dedicated members of the Planning Commission have tirelessly volunteered their time, expertise, and passion to serve our community, and whereas their commitment to excellence, integrity, and public service has significantly contributed to the betterment of the City of Franklin, and their professionalism and leadership have guided important decisions that impact our infrastructure, housing, transportation, and overall quality of life. And therefore, I, Robert Cutchins, Mayor, on behalf of the City of Franklin, hereby adopt a policy of providing $50 striped for each meeting attended in the future in recognition of the Planning Commission members' contribution to the City of Franklin. Signed September the 8th, July the 24th.
Do I have a motion to approve Resolution
So moved.
2024-18?
Second.
Have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion needed? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
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 And so carried. Thank y'all. And we do appreciate what the Planning Commission does as well. They do a lot. Ordinance number 2024-06, ordinance amendment chapter 29, public nuisance. And I'll defer back to city manager.
Excuse me. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This ordinance and its content should be fairly familiar to the council, as we had a work session on this item and the next ordinance I think it was your first meeting in May, where we talked about the amount of overgrowth that we have in the city and the length of time that it does take us to enforce that. So this particular ordinance does reduce the height of the growth so that we no longer will allow growth up to 12 inches, but rather to 8 inches. And of course give adequate notice to the owners in order to ensure that they conform to this ordinance. And of course, it also mentions that any violation would be unlawful. In addition to that, we have defined overgrowth a little bit further than just grass, because we have concern about areas that are not properly maintained, that as a result of the overgrowth that we have screened from view, the residents, sometimes even the sidewalk areas, the addresses for our various pieces of property, and this particular ordinance does make those items unlawful as well. And the ordinance, as we have proposed it, is effective immediately.
Okay, so that we've got the two ordinances, we do them separate?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have a question there. Why is the penalty scratched through? Is it a class 4 misdemeanor or is it not?
That's because in an earlier section of the ordinance, or a later section, I'm not sure exactly where it's listed, the penalty is identified elsewhere within the chapter itself.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you know what it is?
Not necessary for it to be noted here.
Okay.
It's already noted elsewhere. And these are the very items that we discussed at that work session in May.
All right, do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-06?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any further discussion needed?
Yes. Is this, when we had the workshop and we said that it's no need to be taking citizens to court behind broken windows, things like that, and could that be why, or somehow, the class 4 misdemeanor was stricken? I recall we discussed it. I don't recall the outcome
I recall
or the consensus.
the discussion, but I can't recall if they were both together.
Anybody else?
She's saying no, I think.
This particular item was only related to the grass.
Right.
And to shrubs and other items that would obstruct either the view or the passage, the safe passage of individuals. I believe, Mr. McLemore, that there were other items that you all talked about within that work session, but the purpose of that particular work session was to address both this item and the one that you will look at next, which has to do with solid waste collection. If there are other items that need to come forward, we can certainly bring those forward in the future. I think we did talk at length about, because we were reducing the height of the grass and still making it the responsibility of the property owner, that we would give a second notice to them before proceeding to take an individual to court. But that is a process as opposed to a requirement within the ordinance itself.
And I could add a little bit more, I think, to this, just to bolster what the city manager said. This is section 29-50 that you're proposing amendment to. The subsequent two sections, 51 and 52, which are staying as written, talk about the next steps if there's a violation of 50. So if the grass gets over 8 inches, if you were to adopt this, there'd be notice that would go out to the property owner with specific timelines and specific response requirements and asking them to cure the violations. And then under 52, If they fail to do so, the city has the ability to go in, remedy the violation, cut the grass, do whatever else, and then charge the property owner for the cost of doing so. So I think that is functionally the penalty that's prescribed by the statute in the event of a violation.
I was in agreement with that.
So I think what this amendment in part is trying to do is remove confusion about, okay, well, if it's just a class 4 misdemeanor, there's a separate section in the code that says you get a fine of a class 4 misdemeanor. And I think what I understand was discussed at that work session was, at least in part, that, with things like this, kind of like zoning, the city's prerogative is compliance, not so much penalties. We want the grass to be maintained and cut. Now, you do have the ability to charge an administrative fee of $100 because there's costs in addition to the raw cost of cutting it. It's cost of staff time and things like that to do this. So those fees will pile up if you have to keep doing this. But there is a removal of the reference to the class 4 misdemeanor, which would require the Commonwealth's attorney to go to court and pursue a charge.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 And aye, so carried. The next ordinance is ordinance number 2024-07. It's ordinance amending chapter 30, garbage and refuse.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is the other item that was discussed at that same work session as we were trying to improve the appearance of the city and as well as its safety. And you'll see that there are several sections under definitions that have been stricken because they're no longer applicable. For example, the fact that it references recycling, and we have not been recycling for some years. It also defines when items should be placed at the street for collection, and the fact that the containers should be removed out of view by the end of the day on which collection occurs.
Any questions before I call for the?
Yes, I have one. If a person is on vacation, how do they handle that?
They probably won't be out.
You're saying if they left it, if they put it out and
Yeah,
then
if
went
they
on
put it out
vacation,
before they left on vacation.
I would suggest they ask the neighbor to return it to the street, to the yard afterwards.
I don't think it's something that the city would really get really pushy on. I think it's an ask, and it would probably recommend a lot, be my opinion. It's what I'd like to see. I'm sure council would too. I think if somebody's on vacation, it would be understandable. And maybe they could ask somebody to pull it up, would help. But I don't think it's something we're just trying to clean it up a little bit.
What will be our enforcement procedure with this?
I would defer that back to the city manager.
Well, they would get notice of the violation.
Okay, for that to happen, zoning or community development will have to know about it, have seen it.
Well, it would be public
Public
works.
Works.
Public Works that would
Yes,
have
sir.
had to witness it. Because I found that there are quite a few people in my ward that consistently leave their cans out
All the time.
all the time.
Yes, and that's what we're
Now,
trying to.
I could, theoretically, I could approach them and ask them to, could you guys put your cans out or whatever. But if I can't catch them at home or whatever, or some of the people that may not like me, don't, so I leave them alone. How are the city gonna know?
My suggestion would be that if somebody's seen it happen on their street, and it's happened repeatedly, that it would call Public Works and acknowledge it till somebody would go and take a look. That'd be my
So
suggestion.
notify Public Works that,
Yes,
that's,
but we would also, just as we did with the cemetery issue.
I'm trying to turn
when
this
we're
thing
trying
on.
to do enforcement, we would send out notices,
Yes,
letting the people know, for example, in the
Yeah.
utility bill,
Right,
that this is gonna be, once the council passes both this and the gas ordinance, chance, we would put out information advising people these are regulations that are now in effect. And hopefully people would comply. If they don't, we would leave notes. For example, if people put out bulk items today and it exceeds the requirements, they will leave a note that lets people know why they didn't collect the rest of it. So we put a note on the can telling them, you know, you're to put the container back off of the street, and then if it kept being a repeat, we'd have to take some formal action. But I'm hoping that once people understand why we're wanting to do this, to improve the appearance of the city, that the majority of them will comply, and that's been my experience.
The biggest thing, I think, what we're doing here is we are addressing that the city can have the authority to approach and have something done. I think that's,
Because it's terrible. It not only looks
I think
bad,
that's the biggest thing.
I'd be seeing maggots
Yeah.
on cans. It's not, it has odors and stuff like that.
Well,
Okay.
and just to add by way of reference, this section of your code, chapter 13, has a violation section that says any violation of the provisions of this chapter are class 3 misdemeanor. So kind of like we were just talking about with chapter 29, here you would say, that, you know, if it came to it, the formal proceedings would be prosecution for a class 3 misdemeanor. But I think that the county would try to take, or the city would take steps to document the fact that efforts have been made and notice have been provided of a potential violation before it's pursued.
Can I request, if council is in agreement, that when they put that in the utility bills, put that in red, bold, so, you know, it's pretty hard to miss it in that bill, that we will be starting to enforce these things. So it'll make it more difficult. People say, I didn't know, I didn't look. We still gonna get that.
You're gonna always get it.
You're gonna always get it. We tried.
Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-07?
So move.
Have a-
Second.
Have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion needed? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 And so carried. Next up is the financial matters, budget amendment 2024-22, and I'll defer back to interim city manager.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Mayor and members of council, I would just point out to you, as the mayor has just read it, this is for fiscal '24, which actually ended on June the 30th. We received the request to bring this forward, too late to be at your meeting in June, but these are additional revenues that were unanticipated that were received by the schools for last fiscal year. So it has no impact on the current fiscal year, and I just would make sure that people understand that as they look at that particular ordinance.
Did council take note of all that and what she's saying? Do have a motion to approve budget amendment 2024-22?
So be it.
Second.
Have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion needed? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Abstain?
And aye, so carried. Thank you. And next up, we have, under old and new business, we got the Western Tidewater Regional Jail Agreement, amendment, and I'll defer back to city manager discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, although I feel like this is Dr. Johnson's item, since he has regularly reported to you all about the jail meetings. This has been something that's been in the works for many, many months. It preceded my coming to your city, but it is a resolution that consummates the entry of the city of Hampton to the Regional Jail Authority, and will have positive financial impacts on not only on the city of Franklin, but the other members. Hampton has been using our jail and paying a per diem for that, and has decided that they want to become a permanent member of the authority. And with that, I'll defer to Dr. Johnson if he has any additional comments. I know he's been waiting, as many of us have, for this to be finalized, and it finally was approved by the authority at their last meeting.
Yes. At the last meeting, we approved for the city of Hampton to join the authority. and we're working to make that happen. And we need the council's vote to move that forward. The City of Hampton has given us a considerable amount of money that we have used to make improvements, whereas we didn't have to borrow any money or take any money out of our treasurer in order to do that. And coming forth doing that, it's a positive thing for all of the jurisdictions in the area.
Would you like to continue to read the resolution 2024-19?
Okay. Resolution 2024-19. Whereas the City of Suffolk, Virginia, the County of Isle of Wight, Virginia, the City of Franklin, Virginia, enter into an agreement dated November 1st, 2090 for the development, construction, operations, maintenance of Western Tidewater Jail Authority pursuant to Title 53.1, Article 3.1 of the Code of Virginia, and whereas the initial number of regional authority consists of the City of Suffolk, Isle of Wight County, and the City of Franklin, Virginia, and whereas said agreement limited to addition of new members to the only county of Southampton, and whereas the City of Hampton, Virginia, has initially requested to become a member of the Western Tidewater Jail Regional Authority, the board is considered said city joining the authority pursuant of Section 53.1-95.5 of Virginia Code of the Virginia Code, and whereas the authority is considering the City of Hampton becoming a member of the authority subject to the agreement of November 1st, 1990 of the jurisdictions as amended, and whereas the authority and the City of Hampton have drafted the amendment and restated agreement of creating of the Western Tidewater Regional Jail Authority, which says the authority and the City of Hampton are recommended to the jurisdictions of the City of Suffolk, the County of Isle of Wight, and the City of Franklin for their approval and acceptance. And now, therefore, I, Robert Bobby Cutchins, Mayor on behalf of the City of Franklin City Council, whereby requested that the amendment and reinstatement agreement for creation of the Western Tidewater Regional Jail hereto attached be accepted and approved by the members, by the member authorities, by the member jurisdictions of said authority, to allow the City of Hampton to join the authority as an additional member pursuant 195.5 of the Code of Virginia. Approval by the City of Franklin, Virginia on July 8, 2024. I so move, Mr. Mayor, that we adopt that resolution.
I second.
Have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion needed? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Next item is council's comments from council members. Councilman Johnson, do you have any comments?
I would just like to say that I thank you for moving that forward with the jail authority, and we have some more things that will be coming up that are vital for the city. And we have, which we will discuss in closed session, we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, which I have present with me, Mr. Eugene Hewling, would you stand, and his wife as well. He lives at 406 Chestnut Street in the city of Franklin, Virginia. He's a contractor, and I'll give you more information in the in closed session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kitchen.
All I have is, I never thought I'd say this, but the more inmates, the better. Thank you, Dr. J.
You're welcome.
Just council comments, correct? Okay. Just another reminder, the Ward 5 Neighborhood Watch meeting will be 5:30 at the Dr. Martin Luther King Center.
I appreciate us recognizing the Planning Commission tonight. I know that job has been done by a lot of really well-deserving people and have created a lot of positive things in the city of Franklin. We have some really dedicated people. A couple of them have been there for 12, 14, 15 years. So thank you for your support and making sure these people are compensated, at least a token of appreciation so they can enjoy the same benefits that everyone else receives.
And that date is, excuse me, and the date is July 24th at 5:30.
I just want to say that the turnout for the 4th of July fireworks was outstanding. The citizens really came out to support it, and I think it continues to be one of the largest turnouts of citizens for any events that we have in our city. And I'd like to thank the people who put it on, as well as city staff that put it on, as well as the citizens for supporting it. And also, there was a community day this past Saturday, and it was well attended by some council members, as well as candidate Kaplan. And I want to thank the sponsors for putting on community events. And finally, I would like to say that with the beginning of July 1 brought a lot of new laws to our state, approval of a lot of new laws. So what I would encourage people to do is go on virginia.gov website and check them out, scroll through, look at some of the laws. We had laws that affect the heat and for people at home. I asked the city manager to look into it. In crisis conditions pertaining to either heat or cold, now they will not be turning off people's utilities during that time. And I think that will definitely affect a lot of citizens that are living in poverty. So you don't have to worry about being poor as well as getting your lights turned off or utility turned off when the temperatures are 90, 100 degrees outside. So I think there are laws that will benefit us. There are ABC laws that were passed that will affect us, I'm sure, with the Thirsty Thursdays, and also in regards to restaurants allowing people to exit with mixed beverages. There are a lot of new laws that we need to be aware of that our citizens will be affected by. So that's going to do it for my comments this morning.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that on behalf of everybody that worked to put on the celebration for the fireworks on the 4th of July, it was well done, beautiful. To the many sponsors, David White Crane Service brought the crane in, held the flag up. That was a beautiful sight. You had Franklin Experience giving away hot dogs. You had the car show going on with Christine Hill. There was so much happening, so many people. It was really exciting. It was exciting to see it. Everybody was having a good time, so may it just keep getting bigger and better. Thank you. And next, we'll go to the city manager's report.
Since two members of council have already commented on the 4th of July celebration, I don't know that I need to add to that, except the staff that were involved, and you had a lot of staff who spent many hours in making that happen, as well as citizens and other volunteers. They were very, very pleased, not only with the turnout, but with the conduct of individuals at the celebration. So I think it's something we should all be very, very proud of. I did fail, excuse me, to mention at our June meeting a recognition that a member of our police department received from a group that's called Lexipol, which is a group that looks at policy management, and we have a retired Sergeant, Brent Gale, who serves as our accreditation manager, and he in fact received the Gold Award in policy-making management from this organization, and we're very proud of that recognition and of the fact that our records were superbly maintained. And then I have a piece of good news that I wanted to share with the council. As you know, one of 3 projects that we have that we continue to seek funding for is our radio project, which we have put under contract. We did receive notification last week that $1 million has been set aside by the House Committee Science and Justice FY25 Appropriations Bill for the City of Franklin, Southampton County Joint Public Safety Radio System. And that was a notification that we received from Congresswoman Keegan's office. We're very pleased for that support. That will be shared between the city and the county in the proportions that the rest of the contract is associated with. And we do have 3 other grant applications that are out that we're hoping will also secure us additional funding for that project. But we clearly have sufficient funds to carry us through the FY25 part of the project, with a balance for FY26 that we hope to achieve over the next several months.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for city manager? Fair enough. I have one comment though. Over the years past, right after the 4th of July celebration, if we don't get to work on what date we would like the city to do it next year and to go ahead and start booking, you won't get this guy. He stays really, really busy, or whoever. So I know we've hit that the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
That's why one year we had to back it up way back. So, just a thought. Council and staff reports on boards and commissions. Anybody got anything?
I would just like to say, the jail board, we're not meeting this month, July. We normally take July off, but we appreciate the approval of the recommendation, and we're moving forward on some more things. We're still working on the juvenile part as well, and Mosley is working with us on that and that seems to be going along fine, basically. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to build a facility where we won't have to spend as much money as we're spending now, because, you know, it went from $50,000 to 400-some thousand dollars that we have to spend out of our budget for taking care of our youth that get in trouble, and that's just something that we can't get around. So with the facility, that will cut the cost of that. And they will have their own board, their own authority. We will share the laundry and food, but everything else will be a separate building and so forth.
Thank you.
And I would like to say that also we had a chance to tour the courthouse, and that's, if you haven't had a chance to tour it, it's really something to see. They've made vast improvements on it and so forth. And it's, well, it's a brand new building, basically.
I'm not gonna go there. It's a whole lot. It's nice.
Yes. And the other part is Hampton Roads Workforce Council. We're working to build some programs that we have in the city where individuals can get jobs and change jobs and with career jobs, basically. We're working on that to present that to all persons in the city of Franklin and Southampton County. And the other part is new laws have been put into place at July the 1st. And one of the ones is we have in, if I may use this for a moment, because I left mine at home, the Freedom of Information Act, the new laws for that, and the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act, the new laws for that, and the Public Records Act, the new laws for that. If you look at the dais, each member of City Council has that handbook to study, because some laws have really changed. And I received that, and on the 26th from the workshop, we covered all that information in the workshop. But you'll be able, if you can take the same course online as well, basically. That's offered because we need that for our certification for the clerk to make sure that we are in order. Because some of those laws, if we don't follow them, there's, as the attorney can relate to, there's a $250 fine as well that I'm sure we don't want to pay as city officials. But it's important to stay abreast with everything that's happening and learn the new laws. We even had one on, yes, which we'll get into later. I'll get with the city manager on that, and that is an individual coming to work, basically, and if they have had substance abuse, there are laws with that we need to address. That's been different before. Because there are some things in there that we have to discuss and probably adopt as a city to make sure that we are moving forward and following directions. Thank you.
It's all constantly changing.
Yes, it's all constantly changing.
Anybody else have any reports on boards and commissions? Hearing none, I guess that'll end this portion of our meeting, and I'll go for the motion to go into close.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, and Dr. Johnson alluded to it earlier, if we could add to the list of items that would be discussed, the Planning Commission, or whichever member of the council is going to read that motion.
Gotcha.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I move that the City Council of the City of Franklin, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to the authority granted by those sections of the Code of Virginia referenced on the agenda for the permitted purposes provided to discuss those subjects described and set forth on the agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
And just to clarify, that's the subjects stated on the agenda as well as the planning commission appointments. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you. All right, have a motion to have a second. Any discussion needed? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 All right.
And so carried. So now we'll be going into close.